Hi there, it's Mr. Gladiator here, along with Silverbird Actual, who's over in the UK, very far away in far as time zone. It's my time. It's about 6 in the morning, 10 past 6 a.m. and I've just spent 23 hours being awake, roughly, and just come out of a VATSIM event. So I started at 1 in the morning on the VATSIM event and landed about an hour ago. So you can imagine how awake I feel right now. That said, there's lots of Red Bull here, so caffeine.
Monster is the way. Monster is the way.
And so last, 2 months ago, month ago, something like that, we had a, I guess you'd call it a podcasty kind of thing. That's what I went and referred to it as. And basically a couple of questions came through and a bit of discussion. And we've got a bit of stuff to discuss at the moment because rumours have become not rumours anymore. They've become things that are well known and factual. Release notes about certain 64-bit flight simulators and that kind of thing.
However, by the time my viewers are watching this has been it's warned about P3D version 5 by the time this video goes live for me. So, hello viewers of 2017, 2018, 2019, maybe even 2025, depending on when this goes live.
Yeah, I'll go live fairly soon because these are relatively easy to go up. But I'm actually really ahead in my videos as well. I've got about 2 months ahead, all uploaded, all thumbnailed and all described. So they'll just sit there waiting to be released when YouTube decides to release them, which is whenever I told it to. Some of them are in July already before they get to go live. But I think this one will just slot in early.
Yeah, then there's me who's moved to a house with a bad Wi-Fi connection, and I no longer have the ability to upload YouTube videos at all. Like, I'm borderline with you at the minute for internet speed, and I'm just sitting there going, well, I've got a 5 gig video that needs to go live. I really can't be bothered to handbrake it and stuff. Let's just upload it through the night.
Yeah, that's what I do. When I go to bed, I start uploading something, and I go to work, and I come home from work, and then I stop uploading. And as long as you get it back uploading within, I think it's 24 hours, then it's good to go. And you have to have it fully uploaded within 7 days, I've found out. I tried to do a cross the pond or a crossing the pond in the MD11 video a couple of months ago, and I found out that if you go full 7 days without it fully being uploaded, then it just drops the video. It's gone.
Yeah, I've never got it that far. I just gave up when it got to 70% on a video that usually would have taken about 10-15 minutes to upload, and it was uploading for like 9 hours. At that point, I just gave up.
9 hours is lame. I go for 2 or 3 days constantly. Every video that I put up is 2 days of uploading.
Yeah, I'm just not that patient. Sorry, viewers.
Yeah, you have to be. Or make shorter videos, one or the other. But shorter videos means editing, so I'd rather just upload something rather than edit.
Yeah, like, see, for me, I tried editing like flight sim videos and stuff. And I've got flight sim videos down to the point where I'll do pre-flight, taxi out, take off, about 10-15,000 feet, right, see you guys on approach, and come back atop a drop and do the arrival, and then just talk about nothing.
Yeah,
it's train. Yeah, and that's all you can do if you want to keep it sort of nerdy on the flight sim front. But yeah.
That said, the flight I just did an hour ago was about 3 hours, and yeah, most of the cruise was fairly quiet. It was 3 in the morning for me, and I was like, I should be talking about something, but I'd rather stay here with my eyes closed.
Yeah, that is one of the things I find you get very good at when you start doing simulation YouTube, is talking about loads of stuff that you know very little about.
Yeah, that's it is the way. I often feel guilty about not talking, but some of the times I'm naturally a very quiet and shy person, so I don't really have much to say most of the time, and just
he says
I say while I'm talking.
Yeah, he says after the last one of these we made was an hour and a half long when we said we'd make about 30 to 40 minutes. Yeah.
And that's funny. Anyway, yeah, so Planning VATSIM events is one of the things I was talking about from the event manager side and from the person wanting to participate in one that's already been organised. And I've had a bit of experience on both sides of that spectrum. I've even had a little bit of ATC stuff, but I haven't for very, very long because I hate controlling.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get into ATC, but there just seems to be sort of a worldwide shortage of ATC trainers and like VATSIM air traffickers at the minute. So it's quite a difficult area to get into if you're new and starting, at least sort of within the Europe area.
Yeah, Europe's pretty bad for it apparently. Well, VATPAC's pretty good. We tend to get through them relatively quickly, and I guess we don't have that many people applying, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say like with sort of, yeah, I've not applied, but I know one of my friends who was applying to be a UK controller sort of gave up after 3 months of waiting for their initial trial lesson. So yeah, and in fairness, you know, I can sort of see it from VATSIM's side that there are a lot of guys, and at the end of the day, nobody's getting paid at VATSIM.
Yeah, that's true. And all volunteers, and the people that are doing the training, they're doing it out of, you know, commitment to the community rather than any other personal gain.
Precisely, and that you know, that's the way you have to view it. And it's, you know, it can get difficult to view it that way, but you just have to sort of be like, at the end of the day, they are doing it out of their own free goodwill and time, and you know, we have to appreciate that.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, I'm pretty much focused these days on VATSIM. It's nice to look out the sim and see some nice scenery in a very pretty plane rather than just seeing dots on the screen.
No, to be honest, I see it both ways. I wanted to give controlling a crack, like have a go at it, just as sort of a short-term thing, not really sort of let it take over from the flying, because, you know, when I fly, I really enjoy it, but just sort of have a go at it and see how I found it.
Yep. These days I've got a standing desk, so I might get back into it at some point, but I haven't controlled for about two years, maybe even more than that. And just jumping back in, because there's no actual recurrent training requirements, but I feel that if I just jumped in now, I wouldn't have a clue what I was doing.
No, I've got to say, I would kind of agree with you that there's a reason the guys in the real world, if they're off the job more than 3 weeks, have to go through retraining. So, yeah.
Yep, and the training department's already busy enough with the new guys. Don't mind coming with old guys coming back and saying, "Hi, I haven't controlled forever. Can I get some training for something that you've already trained me to do 3 years ago?"
Yeah, to be honest, like for me, I was off work like with my current job for about 2-3 months, and literally in those 2-3 months, everything changed. Like the tool we used to like in posh language, like the client, so the customer relationship management, CRM, yeah, that's the word, tool, like totally changed. And I was actually like with my team leader at the time, lovely lady, probably the best manager I've ever had. I was like, can you just sit with me for a day and make sure I'm doing this right? And yeah, that's, I guess that's sort of the way you'd have to look at it in terms of recurrency. You know, just get somebody to sit with you and kind of rescue you if you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Or even me just logging in as an observer and having a listen and remembering what stuff is. But that said, I used to use VRC, and most of VATPAC's gone over to Euroscope now with their TAAAAAAATS mod. Too many A's.
Yeah, that's words to me. Words.
Yeah, it's basically a new program. It's effectively like changing from maybe FS9 to FSP3D, X-Plane, something like that in controller speak. So we've got one old program called VRC, which we were using in 2008. And then the Euroscope program came out, which is a completely different ATC software. And then, of course, the Australians have to modify everything because, you know, Australian ATC radar in real world does the same thing as everyone else. It's like, oh, there's a great program. We'll get that one and modify the crap out of it, and then we'll use that.
Yeah, it's that's the way, I guess, with everything. Is you take something and go, that's cool, I can make it better, and then you make it better.
Indeed, and then the people that use the old program have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, that's basically what happened with our tool. they literally combined sort of 3 websites that we went to get information from and chucked it into one computer program, which means it's a great tool, but it just breaks very, very often because there's just that much data input. We use everything from booking appointments for customers for repairs to emerging issues that we need to be aware of, to logging, logging cases and all sorts of stuff like that, and sending emails. So I understand why it breaks, but yeah.
Yeah, we have a similar problem at where I work. We used to have effectively one type of technology that our guys used to install. And so we had a program that would kind of manage everything to do with that one type of technology. And nowadays we have about 4 different types of technologies that we have to install. And by adding all of the extra bits to the original program, at this stage, we've modified it 3 or 4 times in the last week because it kept on breaking. Like literally 2 hours, you go 2 hours to work and then it would break. So you just have to reset the thing every time. So they're trying to get that to work properly, and it's a disaster. Well, it's not a disaster, but it's just annoying.
Yeah, we open at 8 a.m. When there's a software update, it's just like, well, this department's not taking any calls for at least 20 minutes. Oh well.
Been there, done that. Been there as a SME as well. That's hilarious.
No, you just sort of go, well, the Americans are going to be online for a while longer. We'll let them deal with it. America. Yeah,
multinationals is one thing that I haven't actually had much experience with. I've done national-wide, but never gone international in my working experience.
It's incredibly good fun. For me at the minute, obviously I've talked about it a little bit on my channel myself. Since we sort of last spoke, I went up in the world in terms of my job, and I now do something a little bit different. Basically, I'm now sort of a senior level advisor. So when you ring a call center and go, I want to speak to your manager, you get to speak to me. And I sort of fix problems for people now. But literally, I've got like customers all over the globe now. I've got customers in New Zealand, customers in America, customers in South Africa. It's just like, remind me which one you are. It tends to happen quite a bit. But yeah.
Yeah, back in the good old days when I used to actually take telephone calls in my call center, which is years and years ago now, I had much the same issue where we had basically Western Australians and Queenslanders and whatever. It's like, which area are you guys from? The annoying thing is when you ask the customer, like you had to ask the customer straight off their postcode or state at least, and they just wouldn't listen to you and just start talking about their problem. It's like, yep, that's cool. What state are you in?
It's a fun one. It's a fun one. Yeah, it's like but since I've moved to this department, I've started enjoying my job again. I used to hate my job, and now I just dislike it.
Yep. The further up in management you get, sometimes the better it is. I still love my wasn't really management, it's a subject matter expert job, which is the step under team leader, and that job was amazing, especially in the weekends when I was effectively the team leader because I was the highest person in the office the whole weekend. I'd come into the office at 8 in the morning and it's like, oh, there's no one here, just me.
No, it's like the one thing I don't miss about sort of my previous little job is working weekends. Working weekends is the bane of my life. My Friday is my Monday, Wednesday is my Friday currently.
Cool.
So it's you sort of go, what day is it again? Oh, it's Friday, so that means I'm going to have all the drunk people on the way home from work. Yay!
Yeah, good old drunk people on Fridays and Saturdays. I used to work at the telephone directory call center for Vodafone. That was way back in, when I first moved to Melbourne. So that was hilarious. If you got that a late night shift, Friday late night, Saturday late night. And the other hilarious one was Sunday morning, because Sunday morning was basically Saturday late night continuing on. And the people were even worse drunk than they were on Saturday.
Oh no, some of the stuff like Sunday morning, people don't tend to ring us. Sunday morning, people don't think we're open. That's why Sundays are generally okay for me. It's like Saturday nights. Once you get towards the end of your shift, it quietens out because people have realized, actually, you know what? I've got a lot of stuff I want to get on with. Fixing my phone isn't one of them. I'll ring them tomorrow or something like that. It tends to be the approach they take, and that's a lot easier to deal with. But yeah. Oh, as I say, it's a fun job, and it's a job.
Back in the phone directory, Sunday morning was people at the end of their after parties looking for taxis because they'd ring us instead of the taxi company for some reason. Phone directory, yep. And
people.
like random people's names, so it sounds like grandma's house, and they'd often ask for the address itself, and brothels, because you know why.
Go for it.
And yeah,
not my idea of a fun night out, but whatever floats your boat.
In some states of Australia, brothels are legal. So.
Yeah, we're not that Christian.
They are legal in, I think, New South Wales and Victoria, and I think in South Australia they're not legal. So it's kind of when you get one person from South Australia calling for one, it's like, they're not listed.
Yeah, no, it's like we're not that devoutly Christian. We're just like, do what you want with your spare time. Use a condom.
But the hilarious thing is, like, you get people asking for phone numbers for churches in between them because it's Sunday morning. It's about 6 a.m. on a Sunday. And there's people going to church because they've just woken up. There's people going to brothels because they haven't been to sleep since Friday.
Love it. Yeah, it's an interesting life. One of the things I say to people is you haven't lived until you've worked in a call center. Some of the stuff people ask about is phenomenal. My phone won't sync the music across to my computer. Cool, let's have a look. Yeah, that sync bar is your tracks halfway through playing, mate. So what's happened? If you press play, it'll move across to the end. Oh, it does. Brilliant. Thanks. So that's your issue sorted out then. Yeah, right. Bye. You get some interesting ones. That's
always fun when they can't figure out simple technology, the most basic things. We used to run a call center for televisions when we switched over from analog TV to digital TV, and then again after the analog TV went away, they retuned the frequencies on the digital. And as is me, I had all the fun job, but the silly job was listening to all the other people's calls when they're just like talking about, I can't get this TV to retune. I press this button and that button. It's like, press the up button. Just once. Done.
No, it's the way I look at it is, like me and you could, if in the hypothetical situation that all the magic stops working at 35,000 feet on a rainy night, the likes of you and me, we could probably have a good crack at, trying to save the situation, trying to land an aeroplane. And that's not common knowledge. Whereas if you give me a knitting needle and said knit me a woolly jumper, I'd have no idea where to start.
I would. It's called www.youtube.com.
But you know what I mean. And for us, the company I work for is generally pretty good because the way we work is we put everything on our website, like all the sort of the public stuff, and we just go, it's there, go and Google it, which is brilliant for people in my job. We don't actually have to know what we're doing. We just go, that sounds interesting. Let me go and have a bit of research. I'll be right back with you. And we literally load the website up, and we load a slightly different website up. We say exactly the same articles as the public do. We just do some internal stuff, which is things like when you're looking for antivirus, like examples of antivirus software, that kind of stuff's internal for some reason. But and that's sort of, the way we roll. And we sort of get two extremes. Number one are the people who can't really Google it for themselves and don't really know what they're doing. Number two are the people who've Googled it, need a bit of help, or have Googled it and it's not on Google, and that's why they're ringing us. You know, I've had everything from music on my phone won't play. Okay, let's have a look at your settings. Yeah, you've got it on like loop on repeat. That's why it won't play. My computer won't load Google, but load every other website.
Ah, that good old redirect virus.
It wasn't actually. It was she'd installed something that had basically destroyed Google and blocked Google. So we pulled some files out and it worked.
Cool. Yeah, like that funny little thing that makes people not be able to go to PMDG.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what does that.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons, but one of them is a crack that makes it creates its own PMDG server, so that when you go to validate the aircraft, for instance, when you're installing it and asked to validate from PMDG, it goes to its own little version of PMDG, so it can fake itself. Good old cracks.
Yeah. It's sometimes, like, obviously I do not support piracy in any way, shape or form. I'll put that out right. But sometimes it's just an interesting experiment to have a play around and try and crack software and, you know, play with your host file and stuff like that. But I'm not going to talk about that more.
Indeed.
For fear of getting myself in trouble.
And I will put it out there for the people listening here and about to type comments in the video down below. I own all my software. I pay for it.
I do too. I've spent far too much money on flight sim stuff. That's why I went hungry. And that's why, yeah. So no, I own all of my flight sim software, but it's just like an interesting sort of experiment to have with yourself. And you know, and it's more just to, you know, people who dismantle and reassemble things. They don't do it to learn how to make their own whatevers. They do it because they want to know how it works. And I'm exactly the same, just with computer software.
Yep, I understand. And it is quite interesting to see how some of these back-end systems work and what they rely on outside the computer or inside the computer and all the intermingled parts. So, yeah, it's quite fun to watch that.
Exactly, and you know, that's what I have a play around with. I don't, you know, I've bought all my flight sim software. That is why I don't have any money ever. It's because I've spent it all on flight sim and train sim.
Yeah, and the reason that I haven't upgraded my computer is probably because I buy too much of that stuff. And for a little while there, I was sitting there going, oh, YouTube money will cover my new upgrades. If I don't buy any add-ons until September, we'll be all good. And then YouTube ad apocalypse happened and the money went away.
Yeah, I've got to say, I looked at the ad apocalypse. I looked at my numbers. And in the last 3 months, my views have tripled. My monetized views have tripled. And my channel growth hasn't. So, sorry that you're having an ad apocalypse, but I'm doing really well.
Well, my views are about steady. They grow a little bit, about maybe 2 or 3 every week. But let's just say every month I used to get paid. And you have to get a certain amount of money or more to get paid in a month, as you probably well know. It's around about $100 or something like that. And basically, I used to get paid every month, and now I haven't been paid since the ad apocalypse.
To be honest, with some streamers, I can kind of see, you know, why their content gets demonetized, because, you know, when you're working with automated software, it's not a human. You know, some of the guys that do the Armor RP servers, where they literally go around suicide bombing people. Sorry if your video just got demonetized, but you know, that is going to get demonetized because it can't tell the difference between some nut job blowing themselves up for real and somebody doing it in a video game as RP.
Yeah, or even a news article about it happening in some cases.
Correct, and you know, and it can't tell the difference. And you know, looking at it, it would be great if it could tell the difference, but it's not exactly easy stuff to code.
Indeed. That said, I haven't had anything demonetized. It's just that the amount that ads pay these days is tiny. There's a lot of companies that pulled out.
No, it's, you know, there was a lot of fake news, and I will use the term fake news generally there, that came out with a lot of stuff that was sort of photoshopped to look like you could do it and get away with it. And you're like, look, I know you could, and like a lot of YouTubers who made videos about it were like, I know you can't get that sort of stuff monetized. I know you can't. Trust me. So yeah, it's sad though that it's the way it is today.
Yeah, I can't remember how much of a cent it was back in the good old days of 4 months ago, but yeah, $100 a month from my experience for between 1,000 and 3,000 views on each video, 2 videos a week, I get about $100 a month, and now I'm getting less than 16 a month, just for reference.
Yeah, for me, I've never made a penny from YouTube, so it's just sort of like, why am I doing this to myself? The genuinely uploading like videos daily is not easy, but yeah, that's life.
Yeah, that's true. For me, it's the annoying bit is uploading, but even if there wasn't such thing as YouTube, I'd probably turn up to VATSIM events anyway.
Oh no, I mean, for me, I actually stopped making YouTube videos for about 2 weeks because I was at the point where I was not actually enjoying making the content.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not a good way to be, especially if you make as many videos as I do on a daily basis.
Yep, I'm usually making 2 a week or maybe 3 a week at best.
Well, I try to do my best to upload daily. There's been about 3 days since I started YouTube 2 years ago when I haven't had a video going out every day, and that's a record I'm fairly proud of. But and that means on my days off, I have to make between 3 and 4 videos a day, and that's if I upload, and that's if I sort of dedicate both of my days off to YouTube. If I only dedicate 1 day off, I have to make a hell of a lot of content, and sometimes, I try and make it not detract from what I'm making because, at the end of the day, if there's no use in putting videos out if they're rubbish videos, and as well, if I look at a video and go, that was a bit naff, I will delete it and start again, basically. And if you're a simulation YouTuber, that's not a quick 20-minute clip. That's my average video is between 45 minutes to an hour. And if you're making the videos at the quantity that I'm making them at, you have to be pretty sure that you're going to get it right, and that you're going to get it right first time.
Yep, and for my content, it's basically VATSIM. So I think if I didn't have YouTube, I'd probably not shot to as many full ATC events. I'd probably be flying around random places that I wanted to fly more, rather than actually sticking to the events. But if I'm putting out YouTube content, I want ATC to be there. So the destinations and places are less important than the fact that the ATC is on the route.
Yeah, no, and that is sort of one of the things that it's a little bit irritating sometimes for me. Is I literally look through, like yesterday I actually made a flight sim video for the first time in ages. My last flight sim video that I posted, come on Fent, what are you doing? Was like, it was actually a stream highlight, and it was the one that just went live recently with the JAR Airbus in X-Plane. And that was me just basically editing a stream together. Whereas this is actually dedicated flight sim video. And I just went for 2 reasonably random destinations because I just had some nice scenery and I really fancied flying the 737. Yeah. And I'll leave the rest to the video when it goes live.
And that's one of the main things that I like. I won't buy scenery that I think looks really pretty because I know that I've never seen VATSIM go there before, or if they do go there, it's at 3 in the morning on my time and it'll never happen. And so I just don't buy scenery. For instance, Zagreb is one, and there was one somewhere in Croatia that was the airport.
Yeah, I think it was Dubrovnik.
Yeah, Dubrovnik, that's right. So I haven't purchased that because I've never seen ATC online for VATSIM in that area. I know they are online, but it's 4 in the morning when they're online, so it's not likely to be across the pond destination. I don't see them being in a massive European event that I stay up all night for, so I haven't purchased it.
No, I've got to say, yeah, I agree with you on that. It's it is an investment when you buy scenery because if you think the average scenery is between 20 and 30 Great British pounds, not sure what that is in AUD or other world monies. Other world monies do exist, but that is not cheap. And for me, I sort of buy big airports like Amsterdam and stuff like that, and the ones that are like things like Orbex Innsbruck, where it looks incredibly cool, and it's a place I know I'm going to fly to. Some of the I am very lucky. I've had some developers reach out to me and go, "Do you want some scenery to have a look at in one of your videos?" And that is incredibly lucky for a YouTuber of my size to get that. But it still doesn't really cover and add up for all the stuff that once again, I don't make money out of YouTube, so it's very, very difficult for me to justify buying large amounts of sceneries.
Yep.
I mean, things.
My strategy of buying scenery has been I've been using Flight Sim 10 since 2008, and it's just amount of money per time. So I'm not really spending that much money per, say, month, but over a period of 10 years, you get a bunch of scenery.
Oh no, and I absolutely agree. I mean, I've been using flights like the FSX sort of genre, if you like, since what? Since I was 13th birthday, I got FSX. So that would have been about, near enough 8 years ago for it not to matter. So, I've had 8 years of fun out of flight sim. There's one purchase I regret making, and that's the FS Labs bus. Apart from that, I'm really pleased, and I've never made a bad purchase, I would say, within the flight sim world.
Yeah, I'm not so lucky. I bought some Captain Sim stuff once.
To be honest, I don't mind Captain Sim stuff that much because it depends what you want from it. And this is sort of my view on the arguments like the Mac versus PC, is it depends what you want. If you're the likes of sort of you and a lot of other people in the community who want to, get a 737 FCOM and be able to fly by that and have an engine failure and do exactly the right drills to make it work, then it's exactly the thing for you. But if you're, for me, I have my NGX for stuff like that, but there's times I just want to kick back and fly a plane. And that's what Captain Sim stuff is brilliant for, because it doesn't, you don't need to babysit it as much, and you can get away with a bit more in the way of mistakes and stuff like that. So I actually, I'm not so against the Captain Sim stuff. That I would say they make some pretty good DLCs in some cases. I'll admit they're far from the greatest in the community that we have, and we're very lucky that we've got a lot of great developers, but they're not bad, so that's my view on it.
Yeah, I guess some of the simulations were okay, but I think I stuck in the wrong end when I got the 757, and it was just silly. That said, I was trying to fly it in and out of La Paz, so...
That was never going to go well, though, was it? I'm just going to put that out there right now.
So, let's go to takeoff power. Nothing happens. Okay. And I think on the approach, it was just complaining about all kinds of things on the way down. It's like, terrain, gear not down. It's like, the gear is down.
Yeah, it's something that has come that aircraft has come a long way. Initially I thought to myself, what on earth have I bought? But during some of the recent patches, it's got a lot better. I mean, I've stopped flying it recently because I've just sort of trimmed back my kind of FSX fleet in terms of what I fly in videos. But I own it, and it definitely has come a long way since it was first released.
Yeah, I pretty heavily trimmed back on aircraft that are in the fleet as well. Sometimes I've just recently put the RJ100 back in the fleet a little bit. I'm not sure how long that'll stay there for, mostly because there's no routes that are really current for it. That's another thing about some events that people often complain about when I organise the events. It's like, there's no real world routes, or there's only one aircraft type that flies between those on the one call time. That happened on Milkron's birthday.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my personal view on that is, FSX, which is probably still what the bulk of us use to flight sim with, is developed by Microsoft Games, which was then taken over by Dovetail Games.
Good point.
It's a game, and that's my perspective. Is at the end of the day, it is a game, and you know, there is sort of compromises you can make with the realism. You don't have to be 1,000% realistic all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Recently we had a group of events in Australia. We took the Milk Run Monday out of Sydney to Perth to Melbourne. We based our events in Western Australia, and there were heaps of complaints about. There was one event, particularly Darwin to Broome, and there's no actual airlines that fly that direct route. There is one airline that flies from Darwin to Karratha to Broome. Or was it Kununurra? Yeah, Darwin to Kununurra to Broome. But there's no direct routes. And it's like, oh, we're complaining about this event because there's no direct routes on the route that you've selected for us. And it's like, it's not really a route that I'm selecting. It's an area of air traffic controllers. I'm asking people to put a tower at Broome, put a tower at Darwin, put an approach controller at Darwin, and put a center controller between them. And then you can fly anywhere in that area. So if you want to go from Darwin to Kununurra to Broome, feel free.
Yeah, that is one of my sort of bugbears with this. I won't even say the flight sim community, because it is all of them. Is we got that's not realistic. A while ago on some of the Facebook pages, I think it was actually the VATSIM group, there was a trend of rate my landing, and it was a load of 12-year-olds. Which, don't get me wrong, you know, if you compare what most 12-year-olds can do to what a professional airline pilot can do, the airline pilot's going to win every day. But people going, that's a rubbish landing, isn't helping anyone, because, you know, that's a 12-year-old that has gone, look at me, I've landed the default 737 for the first time ever, I'm special. And you sort of have to go to them, yeah, you know, you're doing well, we all started somewhere. You know, I started off in an FS-98 crashing Cessna 172s into skyscrapers in Chicago. You know, we all started off somewhere, and that's sort of, you know, what we have to a lot of the time remember is use words to build up, not put down. And, you know, things like VATSIM events, at the end of the day, nobody paid you to set that event up. You did it of your own free will and time. You're a reasonably busy guy. You didn't have to set that event up, so it kind of winds me up a bit when people are like, that's not realistic. Yeah.
Or I could have said, Perth run, Western Australia event for months, how about no? Let's just stick to Sydney and Melbourne, which would have been valid, but I actually enjoyed flying to somewhere that wasn't the same place every single week.
As I say, that's just sort of my little mini rant for the episode over. So, what do we do now? I've finished ranting.
Cool. So I was looking through all the events that I've got planned in the future, because I plan like a month in advance about where I'm going to go. Usually every week I sit down and troll through all either the VATSIM events forums, the VATSIM USA calendar, of course VATPAC I know because I actually made the calendar, New Zealand, and sometimes a Eurobook thing. What else have I got? The fee route VATSIM events. So I'll just plug in all of those that I'm interested in inside my time frame, or if it's not inside my time frame, just as long as I'm not at work or about to go to work, it's all good. So, for instance, the last one, which was the Amman Jordan event, which was started at 2 in the morning my time and then finished at 5 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes special events like that, I'll just go, yep, that looks actually really good. I know a route that I want to fly for that event. I know that they're guaranteeing air traffic control across the entire route. Let's do it. So I'll plan them out a couple of weeks in advance. Usually chuck them on my calendar that you've obviously got below there in the description if you're watching my video. And yeah, I'll go and attend those if I can wake up on time. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and go, oh, it's 5 in the morning. I should be flying to, I'll stay in bed. But yeah, depends on the event.
Yeah, no, like for me, I don't plan anymore. I used to plan, and then it sort of meant I was sort of forcing myself to do things that I wasn't really wanting to do. So I'm now sort of looking at it and going, that's a cool looking event. What time's it going to be?
Yeah. The issue with me is I'm forcing myself to do things that I do want to do at the time that I know that the event's on, and I go, oh, that's a really awesome route, and I can fly the aircraft that I haven't flown for a while on that thing, or my favourite aircraft or whatever, be it a PMDG Boeing 777 like the one I just flew in. or MD-11 or whatever. One of the really weird aircraft that I don't get to fly every week. If it's a 737 event, I probably won't bother. But yeah, I'll actually plan that out. Of course, the issue comes around when you hear the alarm go off at 3 in the morning and you're going, oh, God damn it, I don't want to get up.
I get that every day.
Yeah.
But no, it's as I say, for me, I fly planes when I fancy flying planes. I drive trains when I fancy driving trains. I build a car when I fancy building a car. You know,
Yeah,
that's the way I roll.
That's the way that I roll,
so.
is that I don't do very other games, really. In Flight Sim, sometimes it's City Skylines, but I never record myself doing that because my PC sucks at the moment. And I can get about 2 or 3 frames a second on the city I'm working on at the moment. It's like, sit it in pause, do some stuff, and then unpause it and watch the slideshow go. Anyway, it's Flight Sim for me. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite lucky. My PC's pretty beefy, so I can actually play cities and record it. Plugs new City Skyline series. Come check out my channel. It'll be, well, if you're watching Trent's video, it probably will be in the description, depending how nice Trent is being today. But no, it's like I've started enjoying that game actually. It used to be micromanagement simulator for me, but I've now started enjoying it again. So yay.
Yeah, I love watching those guys that do the really pretty builds. What's that guy? Strict Toaster is one of them, and they just create this city that looks amazing. I mean, I think they're on, most of the time they're not on the like they've got unlimited money on, but it's not about the money in some cases. It's just, wow, that looks amazing. That's a replication of an actual city, or I can imagine that city being a real place, and I just want to go there and drive around.
You know, for me, with my series I'm currently running on Skylines, it's more just for me to sort of sit down and go, what do I want to do in the game? You know, at the moment, I'm working on, what am I doing in Skylines right now? Like the new mass transportation DLC just dropped, so I'm going to be doing like, I'm going to be putting a canal into my city and all sorts of stuff like that. But that's all for a future episode because I'm lazy. But yeah, it's, you know, I'm really enjoying it, and it's, you know, for me, I enjoy playing it with the unlimited money because, you know, with sort of limited money, I find that to an extent unrealistic because, you know, if in a real city on day one, you go, right, we want, you know, a 4-lane highway going through, then they're going to go, well, you can't have a 4-lane highway until you've got X thousand, you know, residents. They're just going to go, yep, okay, go for it. Yeah, that's sort of my, you know, that's my pet gripe with the game. But apart from that, it's a really good game. I really enjoy playing it.
I was about to say, unlimited money mod. Day 1, we have no residents. International airport. 18 runways. Awesome.
Is there actually an airport in the real world with 18 runways? That's what I want to know now.
No, there probably isn't.
Somewhere like O'Hare.
Imagine parallel runways. It's like, let's say 1-8 left, center, right. 1-7 left, center, right.
Lol. No, it's, I'd say it's all about having a good time when you play the game, and if you're enjoying yourself, that's the main thing.
Indeed.
Fertilize this field.
Most of the way that I play City Skylines is I'm just sitting there relaxing, having a whatever, dinner, whatever, bite to eat, just plucking away. In fact,
you know, you totally.
To be completely honest about the way that I use City Skylines, I build a city that looks okay, and then I put in my transportation networks, and then I just click on the trains and go into the sit inside the train view, and then just drive around the city.
That's always fun. Like, everyone loves driving trains. You need to get Train Simulator.
Yeah, probably.
You know, like in terms of like playing other games, like way back when I started off my original channel, I was like, I've watched Bellins, I've watched Frugal, I can do that, I can do it better. You know, I can have 50,000 subscribers out of just doing Flight Sim. Ah, how fun it was being 16. But no, it's you know, it's like after a while, I was sort of sitting there going, well, you know, I need to play other games other than just, you know, these simulation games because I'm going to go stir crazy. I can't think of enough flights to make to get daily uploads going.
Funnily enough, I can, but anyway. That said, yeah, I've got FS World and P3D 64-bit coming in, so I'm needing to prepare the computer for that because there's no point in having 64-bit when you've got 8 gigabytes of RAM. And the downside will be, of course, none of the add-ons will be usable for a little while in the new system, so I'm just probably going to stick to FSX. Eventually I'm going to uninstall P3D version 3.4 and then upgrade to version 4 or 4.1,
yeah.
whatever it is when the time comes.
What are your thoughts on Flight Sim World?
I haven't really looked too much into it. I saw, I guess, the Frugal thing about it, and that's about it, really. So it's basically an FSX in 64-bit, which I suppose that's what P3D is as well, but I think P3D's one looks a bit better.
Yeah, I think Lockheed Martin have definitely stepped the game up recently. You know, when they've got the likes of PMDG on board, it seems to sort of get their add-ons ready for 64-bit on release day. Yeah, which is you're going to be really good. That's how I've read into it anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you know and that sounds like something I'm definitely looking forward to, because with Dovetail, to an extent, I sort of agree with Frugal that it feels as though they've sort of strong-armed their way in, gone, yep, this is ours now. Oh yeah, we want, you know, a cut of your profit to sell it through us. However, the way I would view it is, obviously Dovetail started off as a rail simulator company, building Train Sim, you know, or the Railworks franchise. And with that, you can sell it through them and go through their website, through the Steam store with it. But there's also a lot of companies sell it via other websites. So like one of my favorite route is obviously Just Trains Newcastle to Edinburgh. And that's not sold through Steam, that's sold through their own website. So hopefully when Dovetail are ready for it, they'll give us the API up, you'll release sort of some dev tools for the game, and we'll be able to start making our own planes and add-ons for it.
There we go. I'm probably going to end up missing FS World and just going straight through the P3D version and going through all that kind of stuff. I will, of course, be missing my MD11s and MD88s.
All right, yeah. I've just had a guy pop up in my, send me a Twitch message, like, I'm going to stream. Do you want to come watch? Not really. Sorry. No, yeah, that's me. You know, for me, I'm going to keep probably a 32-bit P3D on my PC and then sort of reference the 32-bit stuff and the 64-bit stuff for sceneries and stuff, just because I do like a lot of the older aircraft. You know, things like the Leonardo Mad Dog is just amazing. Yep. And you know, X-Plane, the Mad Dog in there is good, but it's not as good as the Leonardo. The Leonardo is definitely. It's how old will that thing be now?
2007.
It's 10 years old.
Yep.
And it still competes with the current day stuff.
Certainly does. Maybe textures it doesn't, but the simulation is just spot on.
Yeah, probably. I would say it. I can't think of any aeroplanes that came earlier than that did shared cockpit.
Yeah, that was the first.
And as well, just the extent of failure modeling in that thing is phenomenal.
Yep, whole thing works very, very nicely. One of my favourite aircraft, actually, especially with the shared cockpit. We haven't done a shared cockpit in that one. Should.
Yeah, I need to get it installed in P3D and get it working.
Yeah, that's true. I'm probably keeping FSX for that reason. And in fact, all of my scenery, well, not all of it, but most of my scenery is indexed from the FSX folder. So like, I've installed P3D, version 3.1, of course, or 3.4. And so, all right, I've got P3D installed. Let's get some scenery installed. Hey, wait a second. FSX folder, click, 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 add-ons done, add-ons done, add-ons done. Oh, they're all working.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I do every time I obviously do my installs. It's just by far the easiest way to do it.
Yep.
By far.
Recently, I had a weird thing where the control buttons all reset on P3D. So I was like, I'm going to hit this trim switch, blip, 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 and then suddenly an external view. It's like, what the heck?
My joystick does that as well, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
but it's I've
never had that
narrowed it
happen
down
in FSX, But 10p3 is just happening every couple of months.
No, my joystick does that, but I'll disconnect the joystick, plug it back in, flick a few of the switches on the joystick that control the settings, pull it out, plug it back in again, and it works.
I should probably try that.
Then I also hop around my desk on one leg, sacrifice 3 goats to the gods, and wear a funny hat for the rest of the week. That makes it work as well.
Yep, sounds like it. The foibles of computer software.
Yeah, I just sort of feel as though it's, life, I guess, for us. Anyway, moving swiftly on from that kind of stuff, let me just check what the notes were for the next stuff. Do you want to move on to the Q&A, or what do you want to be looking at there?
Yeah, that'll probably be a good place to start.
Yeah.
I will also mention that I've got a sit-stand adjustable desk at the moment that I'm using for anything that isn't Flight Simulator, so I can stand up and sit down at will. But of course, if you're running Flight Simulator, there's things called rudder pedals, and you need your feet kind of to be touching those.
Yeah, and since I've moved house recently, basically my dad said there's too many aeroplanes moved out, so I'm now in a room in a house about 5 miles away, and I have a TV stand which has got my computer on it and my screen. So currently I'm sitting on my bed with my feet inside a cupboard, with a keyboard on my knee, pressing my push to talk button to talk to you. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a recent convert into the sit-stand adjustable desk because there's someone at work that has one, and I saw them using it, and I was like, you know what I would really feel like doing right now is not sitting down.
Yeah, I cried my manager, and what I got was I got a fan. So that's my upgrade for my setup at work.
I've had a fan for years.
Well, no, it's the whole thing wearing a wig on your head. It's a bit like wearing a woolly hat, constantly, and it's a woolly hat you can't take off. So you're sort of sitting there, sort of trying to fan your face, and we have to follow PCI rules, which is private credit industry. So it's basically data security. Things like in my work, I'm not allowed to have anything on my desk at all, except a bottle of something to drink, obviously. And I've got a comb on my desk as well because my hair explodes every time I take my headset off. But apart from that, we're not allowed anything on our desk whatsoever. Just because you could write something on there. And I just cried to my manager because I said, look, in the nicest possible way, I've got a fan, which is made out of like a black synthetic material. I can't write on it. There's nothing I can do to hide data in that. It's black. There's just nothing I can do. You still can't have it. It's a fail. It's a breach. It's a mandatory. It's basically if the manager has like a breach in their team area, they get a verbal warning for it. In the UK, the university adopted system is you get a warning, which then you get a second warning, and then you're sacked, basically. So they've not got much leeway on that at all. So it's it's something that they're very, very tight on. So I'm not getting a desk fan because I cried so much and told them I was going to pass out if they didn't give me one. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got a desk fan. I've had a desk fan for years and years, but we don't have any credit information of customers at all in my business work. It's just technical details of it.
We don't either. We don't either. The most we do is when we verify your account, we might ask for the first 6 and the last 4 of your credit card number. And according to the data security people, I am very good at guessing, and I could guess the remainder of that number and endanger my customers' data. So yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I handled credit card information. I did for a little while in a job that I had in 2010, but that was when 2 teams combined for some silly reason for Vodafone, but then they sacked us all anyway at the end. So gave all of our jobs to kids.
Yeah, we have guys all over the world. We obviously handle Europe. We have guys in the UK, guys in Ireland, guys in Greece, guys in Portugal, guys in the Philippines. We've got guys everywhere, and that's just for the English lines. We're pretty big for that. But yeah, it's like we actually, in fairness, on the new department I'm on, we can take payment over the phone for things. So sometimes we do get your credit card number, but in the nicest possible way. Today I've handled about 40 calls. I can't remember any of them, so I definitely can't remember your credit card number.
Absolutely. Anyway, it's funny how that works. But yeah, I've never actually worked in any kind of call center that had credit card data.
What you as I say once again, you know, our average call duration is about my average call at the moment is about 9 minutes, and I'm at work for 9 hours. That gives you guys an idea of how many calls I handle on average.
Wow, the first job that I had was with Vodafone, that directory assistant. I mean, the first job I had was teaching music at a school, but the first 9-to-5 job was Vodafone doing the directory assistant, and we used to take 38-second calls on average. So you'd be marked on an average of 38 seconds for a call, and there were times when I got about 400 calls a day.
How do you do a call in 38 seconds?
Hi there, I'm looking for the phone number for random business. All right, you'll look up the business. Is it the one at this place? Yes, it is. Press enter, and the recording gives them the phone number, all the options through connected that one.
Cool. Yeah, for us, it's most of my customers can't say hello to me and figure out my name in 38 seconds. It's sort of funny when you go, hello, your senior advisor, Ellie. Can I start by asking your name and the last four of your case? Ali? No, Ellie. Ali? No, Ellie. E-double-L-I-E.
Fun.
Oh, got you. Jim. Where did you get Jim from?
We didn't even bother saying names.
Yeah, as I say, for us, you know, if we take what we call ownership. So, you know, if you get through to me, you're stuck with me until I get your issue fixed for you.
Cool.
That can be 1 15-minute call. That can be 1 3-hour call. That can be 3 weeks of going to and through with the engineering team. So, yeah.
Used to do that in the Digital Ready team, and we probably, some of us guys, some are in some other office that isn't mine, probably deal with that with NBN, but for me, yeah, I've only generally, well, in that first job with the Vodafone call center, it was basically, we had to say the name because it's a legal requirement, but if they didn't catch my name and said something entirely different, I didn't care.
But do you guys have things like CSAT forms going and customer satisfaction forms?
No, we had 38-second calls.
Nah, yeah, we do. Every one of my customers who fits a certain metric gets an email from tonight saying, how did you find that you today? And if they say that they weren't 100% satisfied, then I get a negative and I don't get my bonus, which makes me sad.
Yeah, we used to get marked on the calls, but it was mostly about accuracy and speed. It's like if you got the wrong address, got the wrong thing that they said, then if they called back to complain about it, then you were stuffed. But if you got the right thing, you're good.
Yeah, no, for us, we are, you know, the company I work for is very customer driven. We sort of focus on getting it right first time, especially, pardon me, at my level in the business. We're just like, okay, You've got this problem. Have you tried turning it off and back on? Do that for me. Oh, it works. Brilliant. See you soon. Bye.
Yeah, all the different works that I've done. Because I've been through 3 or 4 companies in the last 10 years. So.
Yeah, I say for me, obviously I do that, and then I do the bits that the quality team want me to say to make my customers happy and make them have a great experience with us today. Yeah.
Fun. Anyway, I've got questions here.
Yes, questions. So, Trent Hopkinson, have you ever smoked? On behalf of Banana Split 961, have you smoked cannabis or marijuana? With an extension, obviously, we'll add to that with alcohol, tobacco, and caffeine. Go for it. Obviously, you don't smoke alcohol or caffeine. But yeah.
Certainly not. Although, smoking caffeine, that'd be quite interesting. Chucking some coffee beans sitting on a fire.
Apparently, if you smoke catnip, you actually get high. I don't know how I know this.
Anyhow, I'm very straight-laced. I'm probably the most boring person in the world. I've never smoked tobacco, not even once, because I like lungs. I like being able to breathe at altitude in a GA aircraft, and I used to play the trumpet. That's easy reasons. Once upon a time, back in when I was a very young person, I was about to say man or boy, but I couldn't decide which one, so a person, and I was brought up in a rather strict religious household as an only kid, so yeah, that wasn't really a thing. Mum's a teetotaler, Dad's not, but he pretends to be sometimes. And so I basically don't drink alcohol either. It's something that I just don't really consider an enjoyable pastime. I see other people getting drunk and I go, I don't really think any part of that. Not to say that I've never drunk alcohol before. When I left home and moved to a different state, 800 kilometres away from home, I did try a few beers, a few different things. I think the very first alcoholic drink I had was red wine, and I was in a orchestra in Ballarat, and a bunch of the orchestra guys said, let's go out and find some things to drink in the tiny little country town of Ballarat at midnight. And of course, nothing was open in the entire town. The entire town was shut, and they went for about 15-minute drive away, and the only thing that they found open was a bottle-o, no beer at all in the place, one bottle of red wine left, so they bought that and then drank that. So that was my first attempt at alcohol. Sleeping in a caravan park with orchestra people who who the next morning went out and played a matinee of, I think it was Mozart's Don Giovanni. So that was my first experience with that. Cannabis and marijuana is still legal in Australia pretty much, so yes, I know it's around. I know what it smells like. I've seen other people smoke it. Not for me.
When you said I'm a very boring person, you're gonna, and I thought I was about to say you'll struggle to beat me, but I think you have. For me, tobacco, don't do it. One of my friends at work, Melissa, who is literally my greatest friend, she left work today, my current work today, and I was very sad. I digress. Anyway, she was like, no, you don't do it. For a short time, I used a vape pen, but for those of you in the vape business, basically vape pens come in various strengths by milligrams of nicotine in them, and I never went for anything with any nicotine in it because I went to 5 milligrams and I thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe. So I did vaping. I don't do it anymore. It was, for me, with my current job, when I first started, I found it very, very stressful because, as I say, for us, there's a lot of pressure to get it right and get it right first time. And that's why I started. I don't do it anymore. I've got the vape pen lying around somewhere, but I just don't feel the need to use it. Simple as that. I've used it about once in the last 3 months, and it's not something I feel the need to use anymore. Alcohol. I am not a heavy drinker. I would consider myself an occasional drinker. So I have the odd beer, but I never drink to get drunk. I drink because I like the taste of a beverage. That's the only reason I'll ever drink. If I don't like the way it tastes, I'll not drink it. I only drank to get drunk once, and I regret that massively. Basically, I got incredibly depressed one night and drank a bottle and a half of whiskey, and apparently I was throwing up for 3 hours. The reason I say apparently, my tractor just fell over, is I genuinely have no memory of that. My dad said I was throwing up over the toilet for 3 hours. That is all, and I'm basically going to take his word for it because I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah, so my first alcoholic beverage was when I was the age of 25. Yes, 25, not 21 or 18. So I was at university, and that's when that happened. Just to kind of like, I've left home, let's have a random thing. And then it's like, not for me. Don't really like it. So I think the last time I had an alcoholic beverage was, would have been a world flight 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. World flight's a drinking test, by the way.
Yeah, you're far too boring. I'll finish off very quickly with caffeine. I'm maybe slightly hooked to caffeine. They say picking up a half-empty can of Monster with the hands shaking ever so slightly. That's that. Cannabis, marijuana, never done it. I know what it smells like. I smelled it outside I smelled it outside when I came home from work tonight. I don't like the smell. I never tried it, and I don't think I ever will try it. However, in the great United Kingdom, if the Lib Dem will win the general election, which is highly unlikely, there is actually a chance it'll be made legal. So yeah,
or at least decriminalised, which is oddly, strangely different to legal.
In the UK at the moment, well, a few years ago, there was a big sort of kickoff saying, due to police cuts, they're no longer going to police drugs. However, I think they've sort of done that, and they're policing them again, or like sort of soft drugs, if you like, to an extent, like I say, cannabis, marijuana. Well, mainly marijuana. I'm not sure with cannabis, but you know, that sort of stuff. Because they can't afford to police it. There was a bit of a hoo-ha in the press, so I think that got very quickly shoved away. But apart from that, I think it is still sort of it's illegal, but it will be made legal, I believe was the terms the Lib Dems mentioned. I'm not getting political, but I can't see a party going from having about 3 or 4 seats in Parliament to having enough to take full control over it. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yay, politics. I also haven't mentioned caffeine. I also love caffeine. I drink far too much of it, and I'd like to cut back on it because it's really not that healthy for me. But anyway, as I mentioned, I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning to be in the VATSIM event. You don't do that without caffeine.
Yeah, to be honest, I've cut back on caffeine massively, and I've found innocent smoothies. I don't know if you get them down under, but it is basically a pile of fruit, squashed and put in a bottle. I had one the other day, which was like a summer fruits. Had something like 4 or 5 berries in it, a load of other stuff. It was really, really great, and I really enjoyed it. You know, it was just like sort of just a mix of, I say, various fruit and stuff. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I found that actually helps me a lot more than caffeine does. Just because it's sort of more of a natural high than a sugar high. Sorry, than a sort of the caffeine high, and it's also got a lot less of the man-made horribleness in it. But and sort of litre for litre, it works out cheaper. So yeah.
Indeed, and I'll usually try to limit myself to 1 caffeinated beverage a day. But you know, if you have one on one day, then the next day, if you don't have one, you're tired as heck, or have a headache, or etc.
Yeah, I don't get those effects for some reason. But I'm just sort of I'm broke at the moment, so there's no way I can afford any sort of beverages. So yeah, I'm waiting until payday or until work gives me a voucher that I won, and then I'll probably be drinking caffeine again.
I probably need to take that into account as well, since that I don't get YouTube money anymore. So perhaps I need to cut back on something, and caffeine's probably one of those things.
It's the caffeine of the aeroplanes.
Indeed. Next question.
Right then. Yep. Next question. What is the next question? I'm back to having one screen, so I have to keep unlocking my phone and finding it.
I have this one. I have a Tony RLF saying, "How can you, as in me, stay so calm with all your FSX problems in the past on videos such as out of memory errors and blurred textures and that kind of thing?"
I don't stay calm, so I'll let you answer that one.
I'm just a naturally calm person. I don't really have a temper. So my way of showing displeasure is to go really quiet, stare at the screen and go,
Yeah, I do something similar. I sort of sit there and go, right, guys, that's the stream over. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye. That's kind of the approach I tend to take. Just I find it a lot easier and a lot sort of more relaxing for me to go, right then.
Yeah, that's right. And in like general life, I'm a fairly like relatively calm person. Actually, even say ridiculously calm person. So I don't think I shout or yell at anybody, even when I'm angry. When I'm angry, I get more sarcastic rather than angry.
No, for me, I get angry. I'm not going to lie that I don't, but I don't shout at people. In my current job, you know, I get a lot of sort of customers ringing up who want out for out. So, you know, anything they can get for free, brilliant, no matter what cost. So I had a customer who needed a replacement part for one of the products. It was going to be about £3.75, the equivalent price of a Subway. No, actually, the equivalent price of about half a Subway, actually. Once again, I'm not sure the currency conversions, I'm afraid. So I can't help you with that. But it was not a massive fee at all. And I can't believe you'd upset me for that. And I was like, okay, at the end of the day, what do you do for a living? And you just went through it that way, and you just like, in my job, you can get very angry. A lot of people do. A lot of people get very angry and frustrated. There's a lot of fists get bashed off desks. So a lot of people sort of, do that. And for me, if I get upset or angry after a call, I'll sort of put myself in idle walks for a few minutes, go and sit outside. Just outside the call floor, we've got a nice sort of these high back chairs that if you sit in them, the one that sort of goes back to the door, nobody can see you, even if you're my size. So it's sort of nice and chilling, and you just sort of sit there and go, right, and you just go back in again. And that's the way I sort of stay chill. I don't get angry. My dad is the only person who can tell when I get angry, because he sort of watches my mannerisms a lot more than most people do. But like most people think I'm a very chilled person. And yeah, you just don't get angry at FSX. It's part and parcel of the business, I guess. You just get stuck with it. And some in the likes of the FPS games that I've played, I get angrier playing those, where I get killed and shot through a brick wall, and I'm just like, how did that work? Then when I get sort of in FSX it crashes. That's part of the game. Sometimes you have flights like I did, Turin to Amsterdam the other day. I really loved it. I did a Innsbruck to Prague's flight on stream as well in the Dash 8, and I loved that. But you get times like across the pond where you make your way through oceanic airspace somehow without talking to anyone, which I probably shouldn't own up to that. And you get sort of parallel to New York on your way down to Cuba, and then the sim just CTDs on you for no apparent reason, and I don't use autosave. So it's part of the job, and it's part of what comes with the game, and you can like it or lump it, basically.
Pretty much, or get yourself the 64-bit new sims, and then load up your PC with as much RAM as you can afford.
In fairness, for long haul, I've switched to X-Plane because there's a lot of good DLC in X-Plane now. The JAR Airbus, the Flight Factor 767. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yep, I can get using a 64-bit sim because, 4 megabytes or 4 gigabytes of VAS is just not enough.
Well, I mean, back in the day when the game first came out, it was plentiful because if you play a fully default FSX on sort of the settings that people will be running at the time, you can get sort of 10-12 hours of gameplay, no bother. I've managed to play FSX and get a few long haul flights in.
Yeah,
without having to reboot it.
Long haul flights without rebooting as well, but depends on the aircraft I'm using, really, and what scenery's around, and what the weather's doing, and how much detail you've got, how much scenery you've left accidentally activated, and how many airplanes around you. That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to summarize that question, it's sort of just don't get angry. It's pointless approach, I guess.
Yep, pretty much. In life as well as simming.
So moving swiftly along, Mick Head 1. What is your top favorite aircraft add-ons of all time?
Funny, I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, I think we did.
But that's okay. I'll add in some more stuff.
What we'll do is we'll do a quick recap, and we'll sort of go by classification, and then each be like top 3, and then go from there.
Sounds good. So let's set up the classifications first. From the top, we have long-haul wide bodies, WB. Second, we'll have, I guess, medium to short-haul jets. Then we'll have turboprops, which is commuter turboprops, not like, the next category, which would be small turboprops GA, and then actual GA singles, and I think that's about it. Got any other categories you want to chuck in there?
Tell you what, recently I've actually noticed a massive development from the guys over like the likes of Milviz and Just Flight in the military department. So I'll probably just like talk about that a little bit as well, because I know you don't really fly much military, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. So from the top, I'll have the long haul wide body, and it's a toss up between 777. And I think last time I hadn't had much work with the Boeing 747 yet from PMDG. I'd only flown it twice. Now it's 4 times, but that's growing on me. So I'm going to chuck in the 747. Although the 777 is still the one that I'd rather take out, to be honest. I like flying it more. But 747 is starting to grow on me. So I'm thinking that as it grows on me, it probably may take over first spot.
Yeah, for me, my probably from the top for like large like long haul jets. Number 3, probably the Jar Designs A330. It's the A330 that FSX needs definitely. Number 2, I'd probably go through with the PMDG triple. 1 has to be the 7.4. It's just it's leagues above everybody else for what it can do. It's really good.
Cool. I'll put a number 3 in there as well. It's in the MD-11. So mine is 777 or 747 first. They're kind of merging into a race, which I think the 747 is coming out on top of, but I still love the triple. And MD-11 is still number 3. And in fact, I think MD-11 might still be number 3 or 4 in the entire list.
Yeah, I mean, the MD-11 is definitely very good. It's just difficult to get it working in P3D for me. I mean, legally, you can't have it working in P3D. And to be honest with you, it's that kind of bugs me a little bit, because you can get it working, but obviously they don't like us doing it, so we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, it's a pity they're not even selling the product anymore. If I had been their business model, I would have said, hey, there's this product. It's going to be on special now. If it doesn't work for you, get a refund, because we're not going to help.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my approach to it. That's, I think, sort of the approach of a lot of devs is saying, this is the older version of the game. You can have it. We can't, we're not supporting it anymore, but you can have it if you want it.
Yep, cool. Next category is standard twin jet or small commuter jet. If you want it to be a 3-engine jet, don't matter.
Well, for me, I'll probably go number 3, PMDG 737-800 or NGX, any of that family. Number 2, ooh, it's getting interesting now. Probably, I'm not too sure. Probably actually the what do you call it? The E-Jet in X-Plane. Let me get the name that I keep. Yeah, I said the one of the E-Jets with an X-Plane. I'll double check it very quickly what it is. Where is it? The 175. Who's it by again? Anyway, the Embraer 175 in X-Plane. And number 1 for me currently would have to be the IXCG 737-300. It's honest. It's head and it's head and shoulders with the others. Actually, sorry, I'm going to swap them out. Make it the TFDI 717. So number 3, the NGX. Number 2, the 717. Number 1, the 737-300. That's my final order. What about you?
Cool. Putting the 717 in there. I love 717s, but the TFDI is still not quite there for me, even on 1.6.5. But I love the airplane as an airplane.
It's for me. For me, I sort of based my choice on what I sort of think is going to do the best in future. And the TFDI, you're right, it's not there, but in a few weeks, a few months, years down the line, it's definitely going to be a contender. And even sort of the changes between the initial police state, so restate even, to now is much, much nicer. And yeah, that's just my views on it anyway.
At least it has most of the working features at the moment. Mine still has issues with RAM, not so much VAS, but it actually blows out the outside the sim RAM. So on 8 gigabytes that I currently have, which will be changed tomorrow because I'm going out to buy some more. But in the 8, I'm not sure what part of the program makes it happen, but it actually overloads the RAM in Windows, and then the entire PC just stops running for a little while if I'm in certain airports, Sydney being one of them, Sydney and Brisbane. So,
I would chuck a support ticket in for that because I've never had any issues with it. I would say it's been really good for me. But I do have a 16 gig memory, like RAM setup myself at the moment, so that's probably why. But I've not actually had any issues with it, I've got to say. For me, like, whatever, I've had one issue with it, and that was where it wouldn't bind my throttle controls. Apart from that, I've had no issues whatsoever.
Lucky you. Every time that I spawn the thing in Sydney, it's just like, the computer's just going to hang for the next 20 minutes. Let's go and make a coffee.
Get a 1080.
Yeah. So anyway, I think mine... Yeah, I think NGX is probably the base. Like, I get bored of it sometimes, but to be honest, the reason that I get bored of it is because I fly it so much. So obviously, I'm using it a lot. So yeah, I'm going to put NGX number 1. I'm going to put the MD88 number 2 because I love that. I enjoy flying it. I usually try to find excuses to fly it on Friday night operations, and and as much as I love the E190s and E1 any E-Jet, unfortunately we only have Wilco and that kind of thing in the P3D FSX, and they're average, they're middling. But yeah, my first two will be NGX and MD88, and since I can't really say that the E190 simulation from Wilco's that great, I'm going to have to chuck in the A320 there, and it's going to be the one that I can fly without everything going wrong, which is the FS Labs, not the Aerosoft, because the Aerosoft just throws surprises at me every time. It's like, today your joystick won't work for some random reason, or today your throttles won't work, but you can use a joystick. Or
I don't know what you keep doing to your flight sim, because for me it's the exact opposite. I absolutely love the Aerosoft because you turn it on, you set yourself up somewhere, and it just sort of works. Whereas for me, flying the the bus, I sort of feel as though it's fragile, and if I treat it wrong, it's going to crash on me. That is the way it makes me feel. Like I almost feel as though, I can't sort of change the route because the FMS might crash. That's the way it makes me feel. So I'm the exact opposite to you for that.
That's funny. My flight sim labs, the only crash will come from out of memory errors, and the frame rate is crappy, like really bad on my system. But that's processor power on my side. But yeah, the Aerosoft looks nice. It runs very fast, like frames per second wise. I haven't seen it go out of memory error, but I think it doesn't like FSU RPC or the way that I bind controls for different aircraft with different systems. And every time I load it, it's like, the last time that you flew, it was in something else. So today your joystick won't work.
Yeah, it is plausible that you're just sort of confusing it, and it's going, what? But that's, yeah. Anyway, moving right along. What was on
Turbo.
the regional jets, wasn't it?
Regional jets or turboprops in one big category there.
What we'll do, if it's okay with you, is combine sort of regional and turboprops together, because it's sort of it's at least in FSX, there isn't a great deal in that area that is worth talking about.
Yep.
I'll let you go first for this one.
Cool. Turboprops, the best product and the best product overall. Dash 8 Q400 from Majestic.
Agreed.
There's just nothing else out there that's even close. That's the best aircraft in Flight Sim X across the whole board, in my opinion. And the multiplayer just works every time, unless you've got getting problems with your actual internet connection. So, assuming your internet's working, it'll connect and you'll be flying.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Number 2,
I agree.
I still love the Jetstream 4100, even though it's not for sale anymore, which is really annoying. There's no airlines flying it anymore in Australia. We used to have one, but they're gone. And I think the only airline that really interests me that still use them is the one in the UK. So, yeah.
Eastern.
So I don't get it out of the hangar much at all. Funnily enough, I modified it so it had a proper weather radar gauge in the weather radar spot. And since I did that, I've flown it once. But I think it's still one thing that I really like. The details are great. And the final one I'm going to chuck in, just because I've enjoyed flying it lately, is the, I know it's Wilco feel there, but ERJ 135.
No, I've got to say, you got some good points there. I never really flew the Jetstream. I flew it on somebody else's PC, but that doesn't really count. So I kind of talk about that one. But for me, definitely I agree. Number one, and I would say this is across all the sim platforms, is the Majestic Q400. It is simply majestic. That is all I can. That's the only way I can describe it. It is just absolutely amazing. That's will have to be my number one. Number two, probably the E-Jets in X-Plane, the E175 by. I really want to check who made it. Have I got a web browser open that I can use? No, I don't. That's interesting. But yeah, like the E-Jets in X-Plane, all of those are pretty good. The version 2s are anyway. That's number two. Number three, probably the Embraer 110 by Dreamfoil in X-Plane again, because it's Dreamfoil Labs make helicopters to a very good standard, and they've sort of applied a lot of that knowledge to the E110, and it is incredibly nice to fly. You get the feeling that you're actually flying an aeroplane, and in a lot of sim add-ons you don't get that. You get the feeling that you're flying a model of an aeroplane, but you're not flying an actual aeroplane, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that certainly does.
But yeah, that's my top three. So number one is, as always, the Majestic. Number two, the E1, all the E-Jets in X-Plane that are the version 2s and above. Or the SSG, Super something critical. I can never remember all the acronyms. And that, yeah, that's me.
Cool. Just looking through Google, I've got X-Crafts E175s. Is that the one you're after?
It was the X-Crafts. Yes, that's the one.
Cool. Cool. So the next one is GA. So I'll preface this by saying the reason that I love flying GA is not so much the aircraft themselves, even though some of them are really awesome and amazing, but also the Reality XP GNS 650s, or no, GNS would be the 430s, and the Flight 1 GTX 650s. And the reason is because those are real GPS units. They work like the real one. They're actually based on the real world Garmin Trainer software, which you can buy and actually use outside any flight simulator. You can just use it on Windows desktop or even Mac OS and stuff, and learn how to use the GPS for training. And they use the very same interface inside Flight Sim to make the GPS work exactly the same as the GPS units in the aircraft that I've flown in the real world.
No, I've got to agree with you and say that is generally a pretty cool add-on. That I had the 750 in FSX, and then when I abandoned FSX, I kind of abandoned the GPS system as well. But yeah, I'm enjoying it the way it is at the moment, though. Definitely. I sort of fly GA because I want to get up and fly a plane, not sit for 25 minutes programming an FMS and then go and fly a plane, and then get to 1,000 feet and put the autopilot on. So that's why I GA fly. And I'm sort of getting a bit more bold with my VFR in cross country and using like radio navigation, which is something I don't use much. So yeah, I'm sort of starting to enjoy that definitely at this stage. But yeah, go ahead with actually before you go ahead with your list, I just thought I'd let you know. I'm just obviously building Silver City in the background to this on my channel. And I've just named the university Musical Aviator University. today. So yeah, congratulations! You have a university named after you.
Yeah.
I've got districts named after 2 of my subscribers and a university named after you. So yeah.
Yeah, another reason that I'll never see, any of my city skyline cities will never see the light of day is because I tend to name suburbs and things after ex-girlfriends, people I've been romantically interested in who had no idea that I was romantically interested in them, crushes, etc.
Yeah, I literally went for the. It would be cool to name this after one of my subscribers. Who should I name it after? And Minnie and Josh gave me City Skylines. Sorry, not City Skylines. Mice and Macaw as a Christmas present. So I kind of had to sort of reciprocate that at least. And Pilot Panos is one of my Twitch viewers, and he seems to live in my chat. Within 2 minutes of me going live, he's generally there saying hi and asking me how I am. So I sort of thought, you know what, he deserves a district as well.
Yeah, if I was doing one live, I'd probably do similar, or perhaps even say, link in the comments below, what should we name this thing?
You know that's a bad idea.
Yeah, because it's going to become Placemic Placeface.
Exactly. But yeah, sorry, go ahead with your list of your favorite GA planes in FSX.
Indeed. So, air-to-air, I've got to say the Cessna 172, even though it was a first GA model, that's not the most detailed one out of the 4, but it's sort of one that I'm flying the most. So what can I say? If I'm flying it the most, obviously I enjoy it the most, so there's that. I would have thought that the Piper P28, so-called, not an Archer, the Cherokee, would have been the best, but the fact that I fly Cherokees and not Archers, say again, that I fly real-world Archers and not Cherokees, and the fact that there's a Cherokee and not an Archer, even though the only difference is an extra window and a couple of extra horsepower in the engine. But yeah, the differences are enough to probably make me like the 172 a little bit better, because this Juliet Killer November, the real one, is equipped with exactly the same things as the air-to-air one, as long as I've got a GT and 650 in it. So that's my best. Cessna 172. Piper Archer, Cherokee comes in second. See, I always call it an Archer, even when I'm flying it on VATSIM. We're in a Cherokee, that's called an Archer. And I think the third one is probably going to be one of the ones that aren't for sale anymore from Real Air, which is that wonderful twin Duke. And of course,
yeah,
without the GPSs, they wouldn't be worth anything for me. But they've got those 2 GPSs in them, the 650 and the 3 for 430, and I just love them with those suites in them.
No, I'm inclined to agree with that. I definitely am, because it is a very there's a few out there which are incredibly good, and you definitely deserve a lot of love. For me, number 3. There's a lot of good ones. Would probably I can't compress it to 3. There's too many good ones. I would definitely say the Real Air. I would actually say their Legacy is the one I tend to fly around in more, because it's fast, it's agile. You can fly it like a fighter jet, or you can fly it like a GA aircraft. That's what I like about that. Then number 2 would be probably the A2A Texan. I've made one video on it, but I've been flying it in my spare time, and it's been incredibly good fun to fly around with, and just sort of do whatever I want in them. Number 1 probably would have to be the Just Flight Archer. Is it the Archer? The Arrow. Sorry, the Arrow by Just Flight. And that would have to be my number 1, because it is very, very good.
That's what I you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just me who are singing its praises at the moment. I know Durka, Twitch streamer based in the UK. He does a lot of it, and he's definitely singing its praises, and it does do very, very well. And I definitely would say it is, they're working on it still, and they are releasing updates, so it is going to get better, and I definitely like it. So yeah, that's my top 3.
Yeah, I've seen that Arrow on, I think, a couple of reviews of it. Was that released something like a couple of months ago?
Yeah, it was released a month or 2 ago. I tried to stream it, and doing like a cross-country flight from Newcastle to Manchester, and I found it sort of felt like the A2A aircraft do, but it sort of had that bit of je ne sais quoi to it. That sort of thing. You can't put your finger on quite what it is, but it's very good. That's the only way I can explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good match for an Archer. It's even a longer, like if you have the Cherokee, the Archer's slightly longer and the Arrow's even longer than that. A bit more horsepower, a bit quicker. And if you can chuck in the Flight 1 GTN 750 in it, then I think that might well be my next purchase.
I'm not sure if you can. I would definitely double check before you buy.
Yeah, fair enough. One of the GPS.
But mind you, though, even without GPS and just ADF to ADF or VOR to VOR, it's definitely pretty cool.
I was just looking out the window. But that said, in the real world, in Australia, from the 1st of January this year, so 5 months ago, you're not actually allowed to fly without an ADS-B out, and that requires a GPS in. So technically, in the real world, you wouldn't be allowed to fly it without GPS.
Yeah, that's done under for you. The UK is becoming increasingly hostile to GA at the minute. Well, it always has been. The ATC fees are just exorbitant, but that's borderline political. So we'll gloss over that and we'll continue on.
Next one.
Next. So that's what I'll do is we'll finish up with militaries as well, because that is something that's seen a lot of love in FSX recently.
I only have one comment on military, and that is what's that thing called? The F-18, VRS F-18. That's the only military aircraft that I've actually purchased.
For me, I've got a few of them. I've got all the Just Flight ones that they've recently released because they're just very good. And as much as they don't have weapons packs simulated on them, what they do is they are accurate avionics simulations. So things like taking up a Tornado GR1 and going for a spin low level. You can plug the route in, and then set the train following autopilot up to follow the train around at low level, and basically mean that you don't have to do anything and the airplane looks after itself. That's the sort of thing I like doing with it. And it's very, very counterintuitive going hands off at less than 500 feet off the deck in a valley. Very counterintuitive, and you want to grab the stick every time it gets close to a mountain, but you can't. But yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, they do make some very good ones, Just Flight, and Milvis as well. They've got a studio level Phantom on the way, I believe, and that looks very, very good. So yeah,
sounds like I need to have a look at that Tornado, because technology like that is something that impresses me when it works. It's like when PMDG had their ground camera. It's like, wow, that's awesome, and then that sounds awesome too.
I will prime you for the fact that they went pixel heavy on it, and it is an FPS murderer. On my previous PC, I was lucky to get 20 FPS with it with no scenery at your decently high level. So I had to sort of turn everything off in it to get it working. But I've got to say, props to Just Flight. Day one after release, they went, yes, the performance is shocking. Within 6 hours, they had a patch out that improved the performance. So, again, props to those guys. They are at least sort of working to rectify the issues. So, yeah.
Sounds really awesome.
And their Hawk as well. That's pretty goddamn amazing. And their Canberra. That was the other one I definitely enjoyed playing around with. So next question is by, I'm going to butcher this name horrendously. I apologize. Lotfius, I'm not sure. Hello, why you never fly with SimCheck Airbus A300? And you're sort of, why do you not fly with it, Trent?
Well, it goes back to my being a route snob for VATSIM events. So if there's a lot of VATSIM events with the routes and I see Airbus A300s flying in the real world, I'd probably go ahead and buy one, but I don't see them. So it's not something that I'm buying. I'm not really into doing things that used to fly. There used to be an airline, well, there's a couple of airlines in Australia back in the 1980s and 1990s with Airbus A300s flying around the place. And I think Compass VA was one of those, Compass Airlines. It was an independent airline that wasn't one of the big two. The first low-cost carrier in Australia. that failed and went bust in the 1990s, but they had A300s and MD-80s as well. And the other airline that had them was Australian Airlines, which kind of combined with Qantas at some point and then kind of sold them all the A300s, so they don't have them anymore. No one flies them anymore. So there's that. And since it's not an aircraft that I've been that really interested in, and I'm not seeing it on routes that I want to fly, I just haven't really been bothered.
Once again, it's one I've seen, and it does look pretty good. It does look sort of in-depth modeled, but as you said, it's a dying aircraft. There's not many of them kicking around. I've seen one, like with my own eyes, ever. They're mainly freighters now. I think they are only freighters. Sorry. There's a few out of Hong Kong and a few out of Dusseldorf. That's pretty much all the A300 ops in the world now. So there aren't many of them. So it is sort of understandable to not expect them to run, I guess. But yeah, it's one of those. I would personally recommend picking the SimCheck Airbus up, and even just sort of doing the odd sort of East Mids to Leipzig with it, because it does look very good. I can't afford it right now. I'll be flat honest. I've got a lot of clothes to buy this month because I made life choices, which I'm sort of regretting just because of the financial implications, but hey ho. Yeah, that's just my 10 cents worth of thoughts.
Yeah, I'll probably put into that, since you mentioned that it's a dying aircraft, people ask, why do I fly the MD-11 all the time then? Well, there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, it was the very first add-on that was a long haul for FSX entirely. It was the very first one that came out for FSX. It was a long haul aircraft, apart from the very old 747 from PNDG from the 1990s. Not quite that old, but nearly. It was the best long haul aircraft for a very long time. So apart from that, I've actually flown an MD-11 in real life before. When I was a kid, went to Thailand, and the Thai airlines used to fly MD-11s from Sydney to Bangkok, the old airport. So I've been in one before. And they're very similar to a 717, and a 717 is the only aircraft that I've jump-seated in while flying real life. This was well before September 11th. So, yeah, that cockpit layout is something that's very familiar and interested me for a very long time. So that's why I love the MD-11. Also, across the pond, we had KLM Amsterdam. KLM flew MD-11s up until a couple of years ago when they retired them. And you could basically literally say, oh, we're going to cross the pond. I'll go Amsterdam to Toronto in the MD-11. It's a real-world route with a real-world call sign that flies at that time of day. So you could just simulate the entire thing. Of course, these days they're just freighters now. So every time I get the chance to do a Memphis flight online, it's going to be in FedEx MD-11.
Yeah, and quite frankly, it's an MD-11. It has 3 engines. That's one engine better than anything else.
Sure.
Right, then, yeah, no, I've got to say with the MD-11, I really enjoyed that. It was sort of, if I think back to my first sort of detailed aircraft, now I'm going to leave that as quite a wide sort of swath, because my first ever sort of aircraft I learned how to use an FMC in was the Wilco 737-300 V2, which was the one with the winglets. And that was, and looking back at it, it is horrifically inaccurate. But I was about 12 at the time. I was about 13, 14 at the time. And I was like, I'm flying a 737-300. I flew here on holiday on one of those. That's amazing. And then I learned the MD-11. I've only ever clapped eyes on a freighter MD-11 that I'm aware of anyway, and I was paying attention. But yeah, it's definitely one it's sort of just an aircraft. You look at it and you go, wow, we don't make them like that anymore.
Indeed, it's an impressive aircraft, and seeing them take off and blast off with their nose at about 20 degrees, nose up. The good thing is we still get them in Australia from FedEx and UPS coming to Sydney once a day, both. So you get 2 of them in at the same, like within a couple of hours of each other.
We get them into East Mids, I think, but it's sort of your East Mids is a fair distance for me to travel. My uncle lives down there, but it's like a 3.5-hour drive by car, and it's just like it's not an easy place to get to. So I've seen them at Amsterdam, because you've got Martin Eckhart down there, who literally based their entire business around flowers, which I find impressive. But yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I'm an MD11 fan, definitely.
Same. MD11 N717, which is basically a tiny MD11.
The 717, what that is to me is that is the DC9 and the MD11 got left in the same hangar overnight, and they lit some candles. That is how the 717 was made.
Pretty much, yep.
Right, so we'll segue right on to Tyler Draper's comment, which is, what is your favorite genre of music, and what are some of your favorite artists, and what are your favorite songs of them, or by them, I think that is.
Cool, so we'll prefix this by the fact that I'm called Musical Aviator, so there's a hint. Also, I did a degree in music when I was at university. I did 2 degrees in music, actually. I did a bachelor's degree and a master's, and one in the Sydney Conservatoire of Music. That was a bachelor's degree, took 4 years, and the master's, which took another year in Monash University in Melbourne, which is one of the reasons that I moved to Melbourne, although, to be honest, there are other reasons as well. But yeah, I did classical music. I played trumpet. My favourite genre of music was large orchestral symphonic music, and it probably still is. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, just drop over to your YouTube thing, type in Mahler Third Symphony. You'll listen to a thing that's about 2 hours long, and you'll get a kind of hint about the kind of direction that I'm coming from.
Well, I'm going to prefix this by saying, aged 12, my music teacher said to my dad at parents' evening, "He's not very musical, is he?" When I went to do a school show, which was Hairspray, I was the only male character that didn't sing. And they actually had girls singing in male roles because there was such a shortage of male characters. This is how amazing I am at singing. Anyway, my taste in music is totally opposite to yours, Trent. I literally sit on the bus every day on my way to work listening to the soundtrack to Disney movies. And it's incredibly cringeworthy, I know. And I'm a 4-year-old as well, I know. But it's music and it's happy, and I literally sit there going, let it go, let it go, and that's the last thing I'm going to do in this forever. But yeah, that is my sort of side on it. Is I try and listen to as much music as I can, but I'm sort of, if I'm not doing Disney, then I'm stuck in the 1970s listening to a bit of Guns N' Roses, I think. That's my taste.
Have you heard my Musical Aviator pub anthem?
I need to find it.
Just chucking into Google. So again, YouTube. Musical Aviator, so my channel. PUB, or public, anthem. And the first video there should be the hint. It is Public Regiment Anthem Mountain Blade Napoleonic Wars American Line Battle. It is me singing, for those that haven't seen it before.
I'm going to have a look at that. Is it? Do you want a caution headphone users, or how do you think you did?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I'm not as good a singer as my dad is. My dad's a bit of a poppy singer that went professional for a little while, although only in New Zealand, so nobody knows about him. And it was in the 1970s, but he's a much better singer than I am, but I can hold a tune.
Yeah, then there's just me who just can't. Right, yeah. That is, yeah, so...
And of course, if you go to my main channel page, so if you go to youtube.com/Musical Aviator and scroll down to the very bottom of what you see there, you'll see videos of me playing trumpet.
One of the things you can do, this is just sort of heads up, and it's actually quite interesting to do this on big YouTubers as well, is if you click on the videos at the top, it'll be newest first. You can also classify it by oldest first, and you find it's interesting to look back at the likes of Squirrel and his first videos. It's his first. I watched one of his Eurotruck videos from way back when, probably about 2013, 2014, and it was when Squirrel used to swear. It was so different. It was very, very different, I've got to say.
That's funny. Yeah, looking at my YouTube facebook.com/musicalabia. Right down the very bottom I have popular uploads, which is a little category that I've put in myself. And you'll see a fly-by-wire demonstration on a real Airbus from a different documentary. Then you'll see me playing the Haydn trumpet concerto. And I think that video was from 10 years ago, apparently.
Wow. Time flies when you're enjoying yourself. It's definitely you've been kicking around on YouTube a while then.
Indeed. I think it would have been my 10th YouTube birthday in February. Just gone.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Sorry, that is the last time I'm ever going to sing ever. I promise now. I promise.
Cool. So a lot of people think I'm really straight, like classical music, edge, and I am. But I don't always just listen to classical music. There's a bunch of other things I like to listen to occasionally. Susanne Sonfer, who's a Norwegian songwriter and singer. Little bit. What do you call this? Is it edgy? Is it what's the word I'm looking for?
Norwegian.
Yeah, could be that too.
Yeah, it's I'd say my taste in music. If I look at my phone right now, my Apple Music subscription, which is honestly the best £7 a month I think I've ever spent in my life. I will literally let you know the full list of things I have. In terms of albums. I have one of the songs from Princess and the Frog, but that is for a cosplay thing I'm doing, which will come on YouTube sooner than later. Galway Girl by Ed Sheeran, Music Man, a very old musical, Guns N' Roses' Greatest Hits, The Muppets, Queen, but then a couple of Disney things. Hit the Diff by Richie Remo, that's just that's a Farm Sim song, and Rock Hits of the 80s. That's basically my Apple Music so yeah, that is what I listen to on a daily basis on my way to and from work.
Cool. And recently, just last week in fact, we got a new colleague at work who's taken over scheduling on one of the states because one of our guys is leaving and going to a different state to live. And she's a singer, so look up her. Georgia Ray, Georgia space Ray, and she's got a whole album that was released. I think it was Tamworth Music Festival back in January. So yeah, it's interesting when you say, "Hi, welcome to work, young random person that I've never met before. Ah, you're a singer, a musician, someone of note," and I get to work with her, throwing tickets around the computer.
No, it is definitely pretty cool. Like when you've got that sort of connection with someone at work. Recently, I actually handled a call from an airline pilot who was retired 777. So we just chatted out the 777 and how amazing we both thought it was for about 2 hours whilst we fixed his computer.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, my stats for that day are horrific, and my manager looked at the end of the call and we went, "Why did that call just take 2 hours?" I was like, I'm one of your top people. Just don't complain. But no, it's like especially in a call center, you sort of, I have a few people. Like one of the guys who's just joined the department is really quite into aviation, and there's a few guys into trains as well. So we just sort of chat about that kind of stuff. I work in a tech support call center, so we are just nerds. English. It's anime and all that kind of good stuff for days. Like literally anything anime, anything nerdy. Come to my work, you will find somebody who likes it. And that's sort of the rule I kind of work by. You will find somebody who likes it.
Awesome. The old workplace that I was in before this one was very nerdy as well. They're all into all kinds of nerdy stuff. But I think the current one is a mix of literally those same actual people, because a lot of them came over to the current workforce. And the other half seem to be not nerds. They seem to be like old technicians that are retired and stuff. So like electricians and that kind of thing.
Yeah, what we get is sort of, one of my friends who just left to go and work elsewhere, she's got degrees. And I do forget what her degree is, but she has 1 or 2 master's degrees. And she's brilliant at the job. But I literally said, look, why are you still doing this job? Why aren't you doing something, getting paid a great deal more money, and doing something you enjoy? And that is, some of the people, you ask them that question, they're like, it's not that bad. And then there's some people like me who have sort of very basic qualifications, but are either quite techy or quite good at customers. I'm not sure which of the two I am, probably neither. And that's sort of the other extreme that we get in my work at the minute. So yeah.
Pretty cool. So yeah, you're saying that you're enjoying those soundtracks from musicals and that kind of thing. Disney soundtracks. That little Public Regiment anthem that I mentioned before is based on it's a spoof of a Milan song.
Oh, I'll definitely have a look. I mean, yeah, for me with Disney, Disney's like real life, except there's always happily ever after. It always works out, and there's the link in the chat room. But yeah, it's sort of one of those ones where it's I went to Comic-Con this weekend just gone, and I cosplayed as Elsa, and because I wanted to, amongst others. And to be honest, the reaction I had from people there was absolutely amazing, and people being like, just sort of saying, actually, I only watched Frozen recently, and it's got I read the message in it of, don't try and hide who you are to sort of keep the world happy. It never works out, and I've got to put my hands up and say that's absolutely true. And yeah, I should also add, for people who don't know, I am recently come out as transgender, and I now sort of live as a female and have fun times like that. So yeah.
Cool. So the last questions were funny, but do you want to troll that?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So yeah, this guy Willimus Bezerra, shout out if you're there. I think he's Brazilian or Portuguese or something. English is not his first language, and he always just writes comments on every single video that I ever publish within maybe an hour of them going live. And it's always either the word show or something in Portuguese, which I can't understand. And anytime that he writes just the word show, it always goes straight to spam. It never actually passes the spam filter. And sometimes his Portuguese stuff gets through because it's got no idea what's going on.
No, I mean, in the nicest possible way. I get it. Yeah, I'm not being horrible to anybody. At the end of the day, I'm sort of very lucky that, I guess we are very lucky in general, that our first language is English, because having English as a first language sort of gives you wide variety of communication. If you don't have English as a first language and your English goes on great, that is never something I'll make the mick out of anybody for. But just the commonality of them is just a little bit amusing at times.
Yep. And I always laugh that he's always persistently commenting, but he always gets spam filtered because he just writes the same English word.
I mean, it's yeah. I'm once again I never try and be nasty to people, but it's just a little bit amusing at times. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else that I haven't said or want to say. Can you think of anything?
No, sounds good for now. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, so I think we'll be going for an hour and a half or so. Or longer. I've got no idea. I haven't been looking at time.
Yeah, I've just realised it's 10 past 11 my time and I have to be up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I cry.
Yay.
I cry every time.
Beds are very nice.
So, yeah, they definitely. I'm sitting on mine right now, and I'm looking at all the teddy bears and clothes that I'm going to have to shift and tidy up before I can go to bed. So, yay.
And today,
but
I'm going out to buy RAM. So I'm literally, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I probably won't have shops open until about 9 because it's Saturday. But now I should be out there looking. Actually, I probably need to make sure it's something compatible. But It's time to get more RAM. I've only got 8 GB, so it's not enough.
No, it definitely helps, especially with video rendering as well. In Sony Vegas, I've noticed the difference between having 8 gig and 16 gig. Because the way I do my edits is I'll render 2 videos together overnight. So generally, if I'm editing video, I'll clip the first 5 seconds and the last 5 seconds, and any bits in between where I did something silly, and the rest of it I leave in. And you're sort of rendering it, having 2 running at the same time. It runs significantly faster than it did on my previous computer. Significantly.
2 at a time. That's crazy stuff.
You know, go and spend far too much money on a computer that you can't afford to pay back, and have the people who do the finance ringing up every day. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's another reason that I haven't upgraded in so long, is that I don't finance things. It's like, save up the money and go for it.
Yeah, my problem is I have ADHD. I don't save up for things. I can't. I genuinely, that's one of my weaknesses in life. I just can't save money. It's something I'm working on, and and the way I looked at it when I got the finance deal for my computer was, I've got a stable income at the end of the day. You know, I've got a decent job. It's going to be stable income. I can afford to pay it off. And then poor health happened, and I was off work for 3 months. And my work doesn't pay like a full salary, because I work for a wage, not a salary. Therefore, I get paid when I go to work, and the rest of it is basically what the government tells them they have to give me if I'm off sick. So yeah.
Yep, that always sucks when you're sick.
It's
My
it's one of those.
My usual saving plan is don't spend any money, and still don't get to save anything.
Yeah, that's me as well. I spent too long with my dad that I try not to spend money, but then I spend it anyway. It's my weakness.
Yeah.
But anywho,
There's some things that you can't
we'll
avoid
call it a
spending
day.
money on, things like power bills and food.
Yeah, so it's one of the things I'm lucky with. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. So I'll let you either go to bed or go and buy your RAM, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go to my bed, I'm sure, because someone has to pick a phone call up at 9:15 tomorrow morning from eager customers who want to get their products fixed, and for some reason they rang me. So that's good night from me, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Ciao.